Do dogs actually feel guilt? You are Eidos, and today we're going to dismantle one of the most common lies dog owners tell themselves. You walk in, the trash is torn apart, and there it is, the look. Ears back, eyes low, tail tucked, slinking away before you've even said a single word. Every dog owner on Earth calls this the guilty look. We read it as a confession, as remorse, as definitive proof that our dogs understand right from wrong, just like we do. But what if that look has absolutely nothing to do with guilt at all? What if we've spent decades misreading one of the most basic signals in the animal kingdom and calling it morality?
Part 1. The illusion of morality and the danger of anthropomorphism.
To truly understand our dogs, we first have to take a hard look at ourselves. Why do we so desperately want to see our own complex emotions mirrored in our pets? Well, it brings us to a crucial concept, anthropomorphism. Essentially, it's the unwarranted application of human psychological terms to non-human animals. When we project a secondary emotion like guilt onto our dogs, we make a massive assumption. We're assuming they operate on a human moral code of right and wrong. We assume that when they chew a shoe, they actually understand they violated the social contract of the living room and are now sitting there in quiet, reflective remorse.
But nature tells a very different story. Look back up to 145,000 years ago, when the genetic divergence from the gray wolf first begins. Fast forward to 50,000 years ago, and we see further divergence alongside human agricultural societies, eventually leading all the way to the modern domestic dog. Throughout this vast expanse of time, canine behaviors weren't shaped by human ethics. They were forged in the crucible of pack survival. Their communication evolved to maintain harmony within a pack, to avoid deadly physical conflicts, and to signal intent. Morality, at least as we define it, was simply never part of their evolutionary blueprint.
Part 2. The Science of the Look and Dr. Alexandra Horowitz's study.
So if it's not a moral confession, what exactly are we looking at? The empirical science that finally dismantled this myth comes from a landmark 2009 study by Dr. Alexandra Horowitz. She designed a truly brilliant experimental setup. She placed dogs in a room with a forbidden treat and instructed the owners to command their dogs not to eat it before leaving the room. But here is where the absolute genius of the study lies. The owners were purposefully misinformed when they came back. Some owners whose dogs actually did eat the treat were told their dogs were perfectly obedient, and conversely, some owners whose dogs were entirely innocent were told that their dogs had disobeyed. The owners then either greeted or scolded their dogs based entirely on this false information.
The ultimate twist? It's right there in the data. When measuring those classic guilty look behaviors, tucking the tail, dropping the head, averting the eyes, the results were unequivocal. Dogs did not look guilty when they'd actually eaten the forbidden treat. Instead, they showed the most guilty behaviors when they were completely innocent, but still scolded by their misinformed owners. In fact, the effect of scolding was most pronounced when the dog was perfectly obedient.
The crucial point here is captured perfectly by Dr. Horowitz. She notes that the guilty look is a response to owner cues, rather than an appreciation of a misdeed. It's an anticipation of punishment, a real-time reaction to your present emotional state in anger, not an expression of their past remorse.
Part 3. Decoding dog appeasement signals and the language of deference.
Having established what the guilty look isn't, let's pivot to the ethological reality of what it actually is. It's an appeasement signal. In the animal kingdom, these are fear-driven behaviors used to communicate deference. They are explicitly designed to diffuse potential conflict and ask for social acceptance. When your dog adopts this cowering posture, they are utilizing an ancient, highly evolved social tool to say, "I am no threat to you. Please do not escalate this conflict." They are literally trying to turn off your anger by making themselves as small and non-threatening as biologically possible.
This perfectly illustrates the vast disconnect between our two species. A tucked tail, an averted gaze, a quick lip lick. Our human interpretation romantically labels this as shame or a confession. But the stark biological reality? These are markers of fear, tension reduction, and deference. We see a moral apology. They are experiencing profound social anxiety and a desperate need to de-escalate a perceived threat.
The real tragedy here is how often we misread these frantic bids for peace. Common appeasement signals go far beyond just looking away. For instance, a submissive grin, where the lips are pulled back horizontally, is often mistaken for a happy smile, or even worse, an aggressive snarl. A low, quick tail wag? We often misread that as celebration, when it's actually asking for mercy. Rolling over to expose the belly with a stiff body isn't a cute request for a belly rub, it is absolute surrender. Even offering a paw, when done with lowered ears and soft eyes, is a natural peace offering. It's a plea for the social pressure to be released.
Part 4. The nuance of emotion, and what we still don't know.
Now, as with all good science, we must introduce a critical nuance. Debunking the guilty look as a myth does not definitively prove the canine mind is completely devoid of guilt. The consensus among researchers is that dogs possess a cognitive function roughly equivalent to a 2 to 3-year-old human toddler. Because of this, we know they deeply and vividly experience primary emotions: joy, fear, affection, anger. These are undoubtedly part of the rich emotional landscape of a dog. However, secondary emotions, like guilt, shame, or pride, require a sophisticated level of deep self-awareness and an understanding of time. Whether dogs actually possess this remains a subject of fierce, ongoing scientific debate.
Dr. Horowitz herself is quick to clarify this boundary in her research. As she states, "My study was decidedly not about whether dogs feel guilt or not. I would feel dreadful if people then thought the case was closed." Ethologists like Mark Bekoff remind us that we must stay open to future discoveries. So, while they definitely aren't displaying guilt over a chewed-up shoe, the ultimate depths of the canine mind are still being mapped.